Do you ever happen to be just too tired of city life? On days like that I wonder how great would it be to just herd sheep. For instance, somewhere in Scotland Highlands. That would be really neat, right? Fresh air, farms, mountains, Nessie. Anyways, as long as you have 2 or 3 sheep, it is easy to keep an eye on them. But when your sheep are many, say 200 or 300, this becomes rather complicated. Sheep need to move around, though letting them roam freely would be unwise, so it would be better to somehow persuade them to move into the exact area you desire, say with a herding dog. Each sheep is an individual animal, but they tend to act collectively, so if you persuade several, others would follow. They act kind of like a flow of liquid, since liquids are formed of molecules which are relatively far apart and act as a single entity, so that you do not need to persuade each and every one of them is quite helpful, since you are interested in the herd as a whole rather than particular sheep in it, and dogs do not need to push each and every one of them in order to affect them. This can be illustrated as follows. Whereas a herd of dogs in one particular place in space, it can move around, so if sheep get too close they would get intercepted, so sheep change the direction of motion even before that happens. Since dog moves with some finite speed, it takes more time to reach further standing sheep, so we can judge how strongly sheep are affected by measuring distances. Every fixed distance represents the same degree to which a sheep is affected, and assuming that the direction of motion doesn't matter, all directions with the same distance form a circle. Sheep that stand further away have more time to react and avoid the dog. So we can say that for every distance or point on a circle, the probability of interception is the same. This probability is high in dog's vicinity and it decreases with the distance. Yet trajectories are affected regardless of whether interception happens or not. Other animals might just ignore a running dog, but sheep are very susceptible and always react. This kind of reminds me of the behavior of different particles in the presence of external electric field. Trajectories of charged particles are affected, unlike those that carry no extra charge, and this is actually used in a process called electrostatic separation for distinguishing different minerals. Whereas there seems to be no contact between the electrical field source and the materials, trajectories are altered, and it is possible to calculate exactly how differently charged particles would behave. Still, when we talk about electric fields, what do we mean by a field? Is it the same field where sheep herd? Whereas this field is just space, what happens in the space can be described with a field of some special kind. Fields permeate the whole space, so for every point we can talk about parameters like sheep density or velocity of their flow-like motion. A map showing variation in some parameter, say a real map of mountain heights, can act as an illustration. It actually can be perceived as distribution of gravitational potential energy. However, fields in physics describe processes, so parameters distributed throughout the space can change over time. Also, the knowledge of relevant laws of nature allows evaluating not only the current state, but also predicting future changes. Comparing to the classical approach of, say, Newtonian mechanics, this idea has shifted the main focus from objects to the space itself. The behavior of sheep and dogs is interconnected, yet since they don't bump into each other in order to affect each other, a mechanistic picture of exchanging momentum and collisions wouldn't work. So interactions are somehow transferred through the empty space via invisible sheep-sheep and sheep-dog bonds. One way of representing this is by using the concept of interception potential for describing the actual motion. The higher the potential, the more likely it is for interception to happen. So sheep naturally move from areas with high interception potential to areas where it is lower. Oddly enough, it is actually possible to calculate potentials very accurately, maybe not for a dog, but for a charged particle or planet it has been done successfully. We just need to consider electrostatic and gravitational potentials instead. Fields in physics were initially used to describe non-direct interactions. The space around a magnet is permeated by the magnetic field, and if another susceptible object is to appear in it, there would seem as a force acting upon it. The action of this force can be observed with the naked eye, but not the field. The question of how an object can act upon another object when no direct connection is present puzzled scientists even before magnetism was discovered. Newton was referring to this phenomenon as action at a distance while working on his theory of universal gravitation. How does one planet affect another planet over such great distances? In gravitational field theory, we can say that a planet generates gravitational field, which interacts with gravitational fields of other planets, and the overall motion is a consequence of this interaction. Similarly, magnets and moving charges generate magnetic fields. Initially, fields were thought as mathematical tools for describing forces, and just that. Only a few scientists considered parameters that emerged from the theory as something more than a mere mathematical convenience. Yet, as time was passing and our understanding of nature was getting more and more deep, Those were becoming more and more relevant, so don't be too eager to discard them. The real power of theories like this is in finding an underlying pattern among things which seem completely unrelated yet happening to be similar in design. I encourage you to think about things that surround you and try finding a connection with what you learn at school or college or anywhere else. That way knowledge becomes real and contributes to our lives. You do not force it, just keep it in mind and let it happen, since this world is inherently interconnected as it is. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.